Hello and welcome to Hey, I Loved That Movie, the podcast where we rewatch the films we loved when we were younger to see if they still hold up. I'm Dan,
I'm Michael.
And I'm Helena.
and for this episode we watched Kung Fu Hustle.
Fuck yes, let's go.
I didn't know this was a comedy.
Yeah, I sort of did because I remember watching this once, must have been 10, 11 years ago with my friend Jordan, and all I remember is the scene with the giant handprint at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So this was Michael's movie choice.
Yeah, I'd never seen it. So go ahead, Michael. Why this film? Why is it special?
I watched this. I was as a kid and as a young teenager and still I loved dramatic big Hong Kong Chinese action martial arts movies. I've always loved them. I love everything from Jackie Chan to House of Flying Daggers to Crouch Tiger, Hidden Dragon to Hero. I love all that shit. Always have. This being a comedy, a slightly slapsticky comedy.
It's almost a spoof, isn't it?
Yeah, but yeah, I wouldn't call it a spoof.
Wouldn't you?
Because it's it takes itself very seriously. It's a martial arts movie.
It?
It's a martial arts movie that's a comedy. I don't think it's a spoof of martial arts movies.
Oh, okay.
It's not Kung Pao, which we'll watch at some point.
True.
Soon.
Yeah,
I don't like that film.
Tough.
But so I watched this film. This is a film I had a DVD of because I think we rented it from a video store, not a Blockbuster, a small video store down the road. We rented it from there and I loved it. And I think we kept renting it until my parents just bought it.
Nice.
The smart move.
Yeah, I think they may have offered the people at the store being can we just buy a copy of it? Because I love this film. And when I was a kid, I watched it with, well, not a kid. When I watched this film, when I was 10 or 11-ish, I watched it dubbed.
Yeah.
Because not good enough at reading to keep up with Cantonese.
Yeah, and I think it's at that age, you're more interested in the action and being able to enjoy the film than do the words line up with their mouth movements?
Yeah. I also thought that the film was just dubbed and that was part of the comedy because it is dubbed with it is very well dubbed in that the dubbing is funny. It's
they use the same sort of voice style that they're using in the original language. I did actually wonder whether I should watch it dubbed or subbed, but then I had that question answered for me by Netflix only having it dubbed into languages I don't speak.
Yeah, it's weird that it doesn't have the English dub because I know that exists.
The part of me was there must have been an English dub, they wouldn't have released it otherwise.
Yeah, no, there absolutely was.
But yeah, it's just not on Netflix. I could have watched it in Portuguese. Yep. Could have watched it in Spanish. Could have watched it in Polish. Couldn't watch it in English.
Yeah.
I just watched it with subtitles, but that meant it was kind of difficult to make notes, but that's fine.
I actually did find it. I did have to be engaged. You can't, when it is subtitles, you can't really tune out without obviously risking missing quite a lot because I don't know important buzzwords for paying attention in Cantonese. My Cantonese is super rusty.
Yeah, I watched it so much as a kid with dubs that I genuinely just knew what was happening without reading the subtitles because it's imprinted in my brain, this film.
Yeah, I mean, I can watch a lot of films now in foreign languages because I've seen them so many times that I know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
like Spirited Away is a good one. I've seen that film so many times in both English language dubs and Japanese.
So if we think back to a film we've done before, we talked about. If you think back to Bulletproof Monk, when we talked about that, this kind of film is why I'm annoyed about Bulletproof Monk because this is a wuxia film. It's heavily wuxia inspired, which is the big.
I was wondering how you pronounce that because in my head, wuxia, but I'm glad you've said that out loud.
I'm pretty sure. Again, this film is a Hong Kong Chinese film. We're gonna pronounce all the names wrong. We're sorry in advance. I'm gonna try my best to pronounce them properly.
I have GCSE Mandarin.
Yeah.
So I don't have an excuse. Well, it's been a while, but still.
Wuxia is giant fantasy martial arts.
Yeah.
So House of Flying Daggers, Crouching Tiger, that kind of thing.
Lots of wire work kind of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of wire work, which is so difficult to do. This is a good one. This is what they're meant to. This is kind of what they're meant to come out like.
Yeah.
All the martial arts in this is incredible. It's a comedy.
Yeah, no, it was considering how funny it is. They really didn't skimp on the fight scenes. I know that is this my one sort of minor criticism is that as someone who's not particularly into martial arts, like sometimes they dragged, and I'm like,
Mhm.
yep, you're all real good at punching.
Yeah.
Get the idea.
So a couple reasons why the martial arts in this film are good and they're like solid is because it was martial arts supervisor was a guy called Yuen Wu Ping. He did every major like martial arts film. He did The Matrix. He did Hero. He did Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. He was the martial arts guy for all of them.
Oh wow.
That's a
Yeah.
pretty solid
Yeah.
CV, isn't it?
All of the big kind of Western famous wuxia films he did. So they look good because of him, and he sort of supervised the choreography. The reason he supervised and didn't like have a more like certain role is every actor in it that does martial arts is a expert of that field of martial arts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember reading about a little bit about how isn't it kind of the same way like the movie Red, Retired Extremely Dangerous, rather like that's all like like action thriller actors reprising their roles basically.
Yeah.
And doing an action film even though they're all quite old.
Yeah.
This is the same sort of vein of they're all martial arts films stars, but
Yeah.
they're all retired essentially.
Yes. Yeah.
So they're all So I got that kind of vibe, and I love Red, so I was very much on
that's a
board
great
with
film.
this concept.
But yeah, the guy who played the husband, the landlord,
Mhm.
he was one of Bruce Lee's stuntmen.
Oh wow.
Nice.
As a stuntman for Bruce Lee. The landlady was in the same school as Jackie Chan, and she's done a ton of stuff. The main villain, not the like super strong martial arts guy, the axe guy,
Yeah.
he's played Bruce Lee in a lot of films. They're all like genuinely great martial artists in their own right, and I think that really shows because the martial arts is solid.
It is really good. Yeah, it's not cringy. It's not, watching people where they're clearly actors who have been like, you can always tell when it's like a stunt double.
Yeah,
And suddenly, like, the shots of them with their face in is really clunky, or there just isn't any martial arts.
yeah. I think that's why wire work is so difficult, is because the actors need to know how to do it. And it also meant that in this film the editing isn't super fast because they don't have to cover up the actors not knowing how to fight.
The fight scenes are like really long and well done, and like there's lots of actual action going on.
But they're also very funny.
Yes,
Yeah, like,
they are
just-
so silly, and I was all for that. I did really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Another one of the actors I really want to point out because I feel like his name is important. Bruce Leong, who plays the scary martial arts villain guy, the frog guy.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yep, the Beast.
The Psycho,
Mr. Beast,
the
yeah.
one-
The Psycho. He is known as the third dragon in Hong Kong cinema, behind Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
wow.
He's like big name, retired in the 80s and came back to do this.
Nice.
It's,
So I guess we were sort of missing out on that cultural component of like the same way that I really loved watching like Helen Mirren and Bruce Willis kick ass.
yeah, it's got a similar vibe.
Yeah, so these are like like household names.
Yeah, and it also means that you can go into this not worrying about the fighting being any good because they're all fucking great. Especially the woman who played, I think UNQ is how her name is pronounced, who played the landlady. She had to gain a lot of weight to do the part.
Yeah, the one weird thing is how they kept calling her fat, and I'm like, she really isn't though.
She's kind of is Asian fat, which sounds bad, but especially in early 2000s where everyone was just coming out of heroin chic in like the UK, ourselves, like everyone was stick thin that was famous at the time, or fat, and it was they're so fat that it's basically their personality.
Yeah. She's so fun. She got the part not because she was good at martial arts, but she is. She got the part because she had a cigarette in her mouth and looked pissed off.
Yeah.
That was why they hired her.
Which is
And,
basically her character.
Yeah, it's so good.
She has a decent arc actually.
She does like
the
the
landlord and landlady start off, and I thought they were going to be pretty straightforward character tropes of like, oh yeah, pissed off landlord, and maybe they get their comeuppance. I was not expecting them to go full circle.
Yeah.
And like
Oh, no,
essentially
That's-
save
That's
the whole region from the Axe Gang.
The weird thing in this movie is that you can't tell who the main character or next antagonist is going to be because it just keeps building into more and more ridiculous shit. Like the three people that first defend Pigsty Alley or whatever it was called. There's like the guy with all the hoops from like the curtain rails.
Hand hoop Taylor guy.
Hand hoop Taylor.
Big stick.
Big stick man.
And
third man.
Baker.
Baker man. Yeah.
There's the baker. There was the tailor, the baker, and the worker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The labourer. which, by the way, they're all three trained martial arts in the field that they show in the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like,
Including
even they like sort of get killed off like partway
they
through
get
as
killed off
well.
quite
Like,
early. The labourer guy is like a legitimate Shaolin monk.
yeah.
It's insane. The casting of this film is insane the more you look into it. But yeah, they get killed off really. So the story of this, because I do like the story, is a guy who wants to be in a like pretty awful gang called the Axe Gang.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
at the start, I was like, why are they called the Axe Gang? And then I
No,
find out very
exactly.
quickly they use a lot of axes.
They pretty primarily use axes.
They all smell like Africa.
Yeah. He wants to be part of the Axe Gang, and to do so he needs to be like mean to people. He needs to do something like evil, and him and his friend who
Yeah, there's like sort of initiation rites in a way.
Yeah, because they pretend to be part of the Axe Gang to try and get free shit out of Pigsty Alley, and then the actual real Axe Gang come in.
Yeah,
And
which
they're like, oi.
leads up to a great scene. I feel like that scene where it's him and his friend's getting a haircut in Pigsty Alley, and he has axes painted on his body.
Yeah.
And he
It's like
falls.
supposed to look like a tattoo.
Yeah, but his friend, the guy getting a haircut, falls asleep mid intimidation.
Yeah. Or like just before that, where he's like, why did you make him look so good? He's supposed to be part of the Axe Gang. He doesn't look scary anymore. You've made him look too good. Like,
Yeah, and then he insults the hairdresser who doesn't give a shit. It's
Yeah,
great.
he was like not intimidated at all.
Not at all. And then he
he starts threatening to fight
Yeah.
people, and everyone
Like
that
the-
comes
the-
forward is just like ridiculously tall or like really muscly.
No, not you. You sit down. You.
And then it's
Yeah,
like,
the guy like looks like he's about average, or just a little bit too short, and he stands up and it must be I mean, it's obviously, I don't know,
7
it can't be a
foot,
real
yeah.
person,
Yeah.
but he was like 6'9".
Yeah.
I liked the you there with the glasses, and then he moves forward and he's really muscly, and he's like, okay,
Yeah.
never mind, and then picks a kid, and the kid's also
kid's
just
even
ripped.
bigger.
Yeah, the kid is properly built. It was so funny.
So
Yeah,
many
so-
jokes in this just really got me.
So to threaten them, he throws a firecracker to call the Axe Gang.
Yeah, because they're
and then-
sort of known for that, isn't it? That's their like call to arms.
Yeah, and then there's the Axe Gang. Some members of the Axe Gang come around the corner, but one of them's got like an exploded hat.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Oh,
"Who did this?"
He's brilliant. That the minor Axe Gang leader
Yeah.
is that. So they get beat up. Just to jump ahead, like the Axe Gang try to basically take down the guys, but the nice guys, the tailor, the baker, and the other one
Yeah.
intervene and break his back.
Yeah, they put him in somehow.
They get him they kick him into a bin, and he's just like proper V shape in there, which
Mhm.
is funny in itself, especially when they try and get him out, and he's like, "No, my back is broken." I was like, "Okay, that's a great line. We'll leave it there." But no, they go back to it, and he's like foaming at the mouth and convulsing.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
It's so good. Yeah, they call it like the bigger Axe Gang, and yeah, it's just funny. And there's genuinely a tense
Yeah.
scene where they like pour like petrol on a family.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's like a
Because-
genuine tension in it.
Because they all get beaten up, and then the guy that's pretending to be part of the Axe Gang is like, I want in, and so the actual Axe Gang leader is like, well, if you kill someone, you can get in.
Yeah. They kill the old
Yeah.
chap because during the fight at the first fight at Pigsty Alley, the landlady's shouting at them the entire time.
Yep, because she
And then-
has magic shouting voice powers.
Well, no, she's just shouting at that
Yeah.
point. She's just yelling at
Yeah.
them. Who's gonna cause damage? I love that character so much.
oh yeah, she's great. She's my favorite character.
Yeah, because as soon as like the first time there's trouble, she runs away in the first bit.
Mm.
With
And
like,
that makes sense later on when you find out about her, because
Yeah.
they've been trying to keep their heads down.
yeah. And it's like cartoony running as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
the
Which is
cartoon
solid.
running, the chase scene. Oh
Uh,
my god, that
before we get
scene was so stupid. Sorry.
Before we get to the chase scene, we get to the funniest scene in the film, which is the knife.
The
scene.
knife scene fucking killed me.
I feel like this film shaped my comedy.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
it
it's for
genuinely-
practical comedy, like for real. That is like true slapstick. It was great.
Oh, it's
Like, I
incredible.
actually laughed out loud at that scene. Like,
Mm.
normally when you're watching a film and so it's funny, you're just like, huh.
No, that was
But
amazing.
I was like genuinely laughing at that.
Like the line "Who throws handles" is
Yeah.
stuck in my brain.
Yeah, because he
There's
throws
like handles. And
he throws the
like, oh,
first knife, it bounces off the roof, off the wall, then lands in his arm, and he's like, ah! Then he gets the friend too, and that one bounces off as well. And then
Yeah.
as he goes to throw the
Goes in
third
on
one,
the
he
shoulder
stabs him in the other arm, and then throws just the handle.
and then drops a load of snakes on him. And then there's like a roadrunnery chase scene. it's what
The
and that's,
Roadrunner
like,
chase, yeah, the chase scene is pretty
it's so bizarre.
pretty special. It makes no sense.
No.
And it's just not called back to like at all. Like the sort of the obviously the film is a comedy, but it has these really, I guess, kind of abstract cartoon bits in it, and like some of the fight scenes are super cartoony as well.
Yeah.
And like animated, and you can tell that that's what they're going for, which is fine. But it's just it's a bit.
Jarring.
It's not jarring, but it's like, wow, where did that come from? And then it's just like not referenced, like the fact that these people can sort of run at super speed and
Yeah. So after that, the main Axe Gang guy hires these assassins who are instrument. They play an instrument. I don't know.
blind
what it's called.
assassins that play
Yeah.
they play a, and that's the one thing that this film gets a lot of credit for actually as well. I was reading in that the use of like traditional music in the film is like really well respected because it features quite strongly.
The music throughout, like the Axe Gang theme, is great.
Yeah,
that like really heavy percussion thing, that's great. I'll listen to that just in my free time. But yeah, they hire these assassins who play a like traditional instrument, and they're shown in the street carrying it on their back, and it's like really long, and they keep getting stuck on stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, at night they go to the
Pigsty Alley.
Pigsty Alley, and kill 2 of the 3 martial arts people defending it.
When they play the music on it, it like essentially fires like invisible blades and stuff, and then it gets to a point where you can see the blades, and then the landlady comes down to fight them, and they essentially send like a massive army of ghosts after her.
You missed out the best bit, which is the bit where you see the cat's shadow get cut in
yeah.
half.
It's like really weird and subtle to begin with that they're throwing like blades out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought it was more like just a thin sort of, I don't know, like air or something, rather than it being like a blade, like a knife. I thought it was like, you know, that was that film where it's on a ship and like a wire goes through it, and ghost ship, and everyone gets cut in half. That one.
I watched that in school for some reason.
Titanic. But yeah, that fight scene in Pigsty Alley between the musicians and the people, solid fight scene. Yeah. Genuinely, the choreography is brilliant. But the best part is the landlady yelling at them to keep it down.
Yeah.
And like, who's gonna fix the damage?
And the landlord's like, no, ignore her. Ignore her. It's fine.
And then the best part is like the gang leader that sat in a car screams at her to shut up.
Yeah.
And throws an axe at her, and she catches it. And it's such a good moment where she's just like, no, how dare you come into my neighborhood? Because she just plugs it out of the air. It's so funny. Yeah, so two of 3.
I think all 3 of them die because it's from this point that the landlord and landlady sort of take over as the protagonists.
Yeah.
And then because
he dies a bit later, doesn't he? The punches guy, because he gets punched to almost death, and then he dies a little while later.
Yeah. So the landlord has they all have like mystical martial arts abilities. The landlord has a rubber body, apparently. He can like deflect hits and float. And then you find out that the landlady has the ability to scream real loud.
Yeah, like
she's got the lion's roar.
The lion's roar. Which is another thing I really like about this film, is whenever anyone does anything martial artsy, someone else goes, oh my god, it's the thing.
Yeah.
It's the martial arts style, which I like would be annoying, but it's done really well.
Yeah, they're always like sort of shocked that there's like, I thought that was just a legend, or he must be the one, or it's the ...
Yeah, but oh man, it's when the way they set up her screaming is great, because she like inhales, but inhales a full cigarette as well.
Yeah.
Which is like the only time she screams is when she's smoking, which is a full cigarette.
And then after a while, they start doing weird like body morph things where like her chest expands massively and everything else shrinks.
Oh yeah, that was funny. It was weird, but it was a good bit.
Yeah, you learn her scream can tear clothes off of people.
Yeah.
So many of these fights end with clothes being torn off of people, which it's so good.
I really wasn't expecting them all to be Kung Fu legends.
Mm-hmm.
So I was genuinely surprised, like, each time.
Well, you didn't think this was a comedy.
Yeah, I sort of assumed from the name that Kung Fu Hustle was going to be some sort of, like, Kung Fu heist movie. Because I associate the word hustle with Hustle,
I mean,
like
we're about to get to the heist section of the movie where they break into the mental asylum, which has Boy Scouts as the guards.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. The dialogue in this film is great because it's just slightly off. But yeah, they break into an asylum to get out the world's greatest martial arts.
Yeah, after basically they kill. Do they kill those assassins, or do they just get them to run away?
I think they just crawl away.
Yeah, they
because
crawl
they've
away.
been
So
shouted at again.
so
that one-
those two assassins that are supposed to be sort of the second best in the world. Yeah, they're not going to do it anymore.
No, they can.
So they have
barely
to. The Axe Gang leader is like determined to obviously take down these two pigsty alley people,
Yeah,
the landlord and lady.
Yeah,
So he has to
so-
get the best killer in the world, the
who
number
is
one killer.
the beast who is being held up in an asylum.
Yeah. Oh, and meanwhile, the guy who is trying to get into the Axe Gang has run into a girl that he saved from being bullied when he was a kid, and she's a mute, and she saved a lollipop for some reason.
Yes, it's such a weird off story, but it's also great.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
really
I mean,
great.
what is weird about that is that he basically stops them from picking on her by having them pick on him instead, and they piss on him.
Yeah, they do.
Like,
it's weird.
It
It's-
sort of
That's
goes
when
from
he's
like,
a
oh,
kid.
this is
Yeah.
nasty bullying. Oh, they're kicking him, and I'm like, oh, that's not
Yeah.
really nice. But that is sort of character building
Yeah.
for this character.
Oh,
Like,
and
okay,
they
that's
piss on
right.
him because he's reading this really cheap manual
Martial
for the
arts.
Buddhist
Yeah, he gets
palm.
conned essentially by
Yeah.
by an not an old person, a homeless
Yeah.
who says, "Oh, well, I'll sell you this comic for $10, or not comic, this instruction manual on how to be a palm,
And how to
Buddhist
Buddhist
palm. Yeah.
Buddhist palm." And he's like, and I'll sell it to you for cheap $10, and it's like the 20-cent guide to
Yeah.
kung fu.
Yeah,
But
So
this
it's like
is
a sort of-
important because this will come back later.
Yeah,
him getting the getting pissed on bit was so strange,
Yeah.
but it
yeah,
kind of fit. It was kind of like, okay, I guess.
yeah,
a lot of this
He meets
stuff
that girl again when he's an adult, and she's still got the lolly, but
Yeah,
he doesn't
it's
quite
sweet.
remember, and he like smashes it and stuff.
he
Yeah.
tries to rob her.
Yeah, because he just
Well, he
'cause she
successfully
can't
robs
say,
her one
yeah.
time without realizing who it is, and
Yeah.
then goes to rob her again.
Because she
But
can't say
instead of
I'm
just
that
stealing
girl
ice cream,
because she's mute.
he takes the ice cream the first time, and then the second time they try and get the money, and
Yeah.
she kind of just lets them, and he doesn't really understand why, but she can't say anything, and then he works out later and feels bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get the beast out of the with a reference to
So
the
the
shine.
fact that he
Yeah,
robs,
there's
the
a
fact that he
Shining,
robs
yeah.
this girl is like mean enough for him to be accepted into the Axe Gang,
Yeah.
or they've just realized they need his really good lock picking skills.
Yeah,
this
they
is
need
the
his
second part.
lock-picking skills because he's
Yeah.
the one that then breaks the beast out, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, so there's like a shining reference.
Yeah,
Good
that was
Yeah.
unexpected.
Really
That was
weird.
not a subtle Shining reference either. It's literally blood rolling down the corridor.
That whole scene, the whole breaking out scene is genuinely quite tense.
Yeah.
But whereas the rest of the film's relatively light-hearted, that whole scene is pretty like it put me on edge as like it
Yeah,
put me on edge
until
now.
he gets to actually open the door, like he picks the lock, and we're right back in comedy zone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because he's sitting on the toilet.
You know, so he's just an old man
Mm.
dressed in nothing.
In real gross sandals.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a really unsubtle thing with a load of toads around him.
Oh,
Oh,
toad
because there
bugs.
were a load of them on the corridor up to him. Yeah.
Yeah, which is like a subtle nod to his
Mm.
style of martial arts, I guess.
Yeah.
yep, and his baggy throat.
We'll get to the cursed image of this film. Get to that cursed image. But yeah, the Axe Gang doesn't believe how good of an assassin he is until he goes to shoot himself in the head and catches the bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a baller move, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, and then you have like another crazy good fight scene in a casino between the landlord, landlady, and the
yeah,
beast.
this is the scene that I felt went on for too long because it was funny, but it was kind of the same jokes over and over after a while.
Yeah, I think I just like it because I like the martial arts stuff.
Yeah,
The setup of her screaming and him not being bothered by it.
Until
That
she
was good.
like breaks a bell off and uses that to like echo as a
yeah,
speaker.
it's not just any bell; it's like a
It's a-
Buddhist funeral bell,
Yeah, which is great.
and
Which
they use it
they,
as a megaphone.
they bought it, didn't they? Like the couple bought it with them.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
Which
so.
means that they were probably planning to do that from the beginning.
yeah.
That was their plan, was to scream at him from through that. Which, yeah, they're losing the fight, so they break the top of the bell off, and shout down it as like a megaphone. At which point, the beast they go to do it again from like super close, and part of me would have loved to have seen what would happen.
Yeah, because when she does it, like all of the buildings like falling apart and
Yeah.
tearing.
Yeah, she destroys the building.
there's a lot of collateral damage in
A
these
lot.
films.
Martial
But
arts.
it's no, it's part of the fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're not at
You've
the
got to have a
biggest
lot
bit
of
of collateral
plywood.
damage yet.
Nope. Yeah, he hurts them, stabs them both.
So he
Uh,
tricks them. He says he's going to surrender, but then he doesn't, which I think is a filthy move and just shows you that he is rotten.
Yeah, it kind of implies that that's how he kills people all the time.
Yeah.
Because he never actually wins a fight without that in this film, which is.
Is it before or after that the guy that was evil that was trying to get in, he gets beaten up but becomes a good guy?
No, so they get the couple get in martial arts Twister. They
Yeah.
get in
Yeah.
Kung Fu Twister.
Oh, and he rescues them, doesn't he?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they're like, hit him over the head, hit him over the head. And he hits Beast over the head, and the Beast is like, just beats the shit out of him.
Yeah. But he beats the shit out of him so much that it clears his chi potential.
Yeah. Well, during like the face punching, because he's just punching his face into the ground, he grabs a tiny bit of wood and just dinks him with it.
Yeah.
Amazing. But yeah, he beats the shit out of him enough that he unlocks his chi and he becomes the One,
Yeah.
which was just funny. Who would have? Because it was very like on the nose of who would have thought that you could have your chi unlocked by having a beating like that.
But yeah, so they basically don't they tell him to like kill the two?
Yeah.
The landlord
and he can't do it because obviously they're vulnerable and have already been. It's not
Yeah.
like a fair fight at that point.
So he rescues them instead.
So he's good instead, and then he's obviously out of the axe
No.
gang and onto the other side.
He doesn't rescue them. He gets nearly beaten to death.
Oh,
No,
then
he just
they-
sort of
yeah.
distracts. He just distracts the bad dude for long enough.
And
that
then
they
they
make
get
it
out
with
and
him.
take him with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they go back to
Back to Pigsty Alley. And then
And they-
all of the
And they
rest of
probably
the axe
mummify
gang.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing that's mentioned a few times in the film is that he, like his friend mentions that he does heal super fast and he's never really thought about it.
Mm.
Like he takes
Yeah.
a lot of, it's sort of implied that this guy takes a lot of beatings. Like
Yeah.
they sort of fuck up on their journey to become gangsters is definitely like dashed with like attempts that have gone
Yeah.
pretty horribly wrong.
Oh yeah, because when he's like lying there covered in blood, and they're like, "Oh, what do you want?" and he draws a picture of the lollipop, like
Yeah.
in his own blood. It's really sweet. And then the landlord's like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah, right in Chinese characters. I don't understand what you're saying.
Oh, no, I'm realizing how much this film like made my sense of humor. Because oh man, every bit of this film is hilarious. I'm gonna watch it again tonight.
Yeah.
Um,
So then
Yeah, he fights the
he heals
entire
and he
Axe gang
fights the entire axe gang, and then he's
by
fighting.
crushing their feet, which
Yeah,
is
he
so-
stamps on their feet.
it's so good.
And then the beast comes back, and he like can turn into a frog. He like expands his throat and
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah, it's
then
pretty
he
gross, isn't it?
Jumps with it. It's so cursed. I
Mm.
forgot how cursed looking at that face is.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird body morphing special effects going on in this.
Yeah. But yeah, the good guy,
Mm.
Stephen Cho is the actor playing that guy. He also wrote and directed it.
Oh right.
Flies up into the air and then comes back down.
he's getting
No, he
beaten
doesn't
up. He
fly
gets
up into the air, he
punched
gets
into the air.
Oh yeah,
punched
he gets
into the
punched
air.
into the air.
And then he
Uh,
flies back round and he uses the Buddhist palm.
Again, it's fucking hilarious when he's coming back down because he's got his hands together in prayer, and then there's like fire around his fingers.
Yeah.
Oh, and but you do see Buddha in the clouds.
Yep.
And he flies down, and
Just leaves the biggest handprint and
Giant
pushes him,
handprint.
which would make a great swimming pool.
So on the way down, just a little peek behind the curtain for my watching experience, which I have a feeling is unique to my shit TV.
Mhm.
It turns out there is actually a lower limit on how little you should spend on a supposedly smart TV, and it's probably 20 quid more than what we spent on ours. It suddenly juddered, and it was like just repeating this bit just before like the palm lands.
Mhm.
Oh, that's weird.
And it went like and it made that noise, like computer crash noise. And I thought, oh, okay, so they're making like a computer reference. It's like, he's crashed and he's literally crashed as well. I was like, oh, okay, but then it didn't stop, and then I was like, oh, and then my TV just turned itself off. And I was like, oh, okay.
The British palm is that powerful.
Yeah, the Buddhist palm is that
It's-
powerful that it 15 years later it can take out a TV.
Yeah, because he does it on the floor, and then when he's like, the beast is like saying that he should use it on him, but instead he does it just next to the beast's head, and he takes out half of the building, and there's just like a
Yeah.
giant handprint missing out of it.
People
Yeah, no,
love
it's
that.
like that, like
Yeah.
gladiator wall thing, but with a
With
with a
a-
handprint. It's great. Like, yeah, poor old Pigsty Alley.
We're all fixed there. But that landlady's gonna be like, who's paying for that?
Yep.
Oh man, I love this film so much, and I'm
Yeah.
glad
Yeah.
that you liked it because I don't think I could have taken.
Yeah,
people not liking this.
It's very likable. It's so upbeat, and like obviously there are bits where it's like, oh, it's going wrong, but it never really goes wrong for that long. And there's so much comedy in it that even when it's going wrong in such a funny way. Like, there's few films where you watch your protagonist get beaten to an absolute pulp, and you're like, oh man, that was brilliant. Did you see how much his head got smushed into the ground?
Like, it's just a constant escalation of like ridiculous martial arts and stuff, and it was it was great.
Yeah, I really didn't know where they were going to draw the line, and I really didn't expect it to be flying through the sky and making a giant palm, and like it really like surpassed my expectations.
Oh, it's so good. The characters are also all great. Like even the like little side characters that we haven't talked about, like the people in Pigsty Alley.
There's the guy who at the beginning's like taking a shower, and he's like halfway through, and the water turns off, and he starts complaining.
Yeah,
and he's like, I was halfway through a shampoo, and she's like, I don't care. Water rations for all of you.
She's great. But genuinely the landlady and the landlord are the best characters.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Like, to start with, I was like, oh, these are awful characters, and then
you're
goes
definitely
on,
supposed to hate them. Like, he's really sleazy, she's really mean.
Yeah,
they fight each other like cats and dogs.
Which their fights must be brutal.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it makes sense now, doesn't it? That he's like, she can really hurl a punch at him, and I was like, a part of me was like, oh, okay, this is domestic violence. If it was a man beating her up, like, it would be totally the tone would be awful. But then it won me over by the end. I was like, no, they're both martial artists beating the crap out of each other because they can. And like, she pushes him out of a building, and a flower pot like lands on his head.
Yeah,
and like his face is like smashed in the ground.
That's the best part of that whole.
And also when there's that big scene afterwards where obviously there's the big Axe Gang related fight, and he just stays there. He like looks around and then just puts his moves, and he moves like the poo and like the dirt around him as well.
He like the dirt in, like, I'm dead.
Literally bury his head in the sand. It was great.
And then
I love this film.
At the end, the main character's like reunited with the girl as well, and his friend's working in like a sweet shop.
Doesn't beat the best scene, which is right at the end where the homeless guy approaches another child.
Yeah,
and is like, you
really
seem like
snotty
the one.
child as well.
Yeah, he's like, you seem like the one. You have the makings of a good martial arts master. How about I sell you this book for $10? And the kid's like, nah. So he pulls out like a load of
he's got loads of this.
It means like, is there just a load of martial arts masters out there?
I think that obviously the reason he sets up a sweet shop is to like show how much it means to him as well, like the mute girl's gesture.
Yeah, it's man, I love this because it's not like it's funny and like the martial arts are good, but the rest of the story is a bit shit. Like the setup of him and the sweet shop girl is solid. Like, and it genuinely a bit emotional.
Yeah, and like the over the topness of the Axe Gang is just brilliant. Like the opening scene is so funny.
Yeah.
And like the not so much the opening scene of like the police guy he's getting beaten up, but like afterwards, like that scene where they're having that huge fight on the street.
Oh yeah, and he like cuts
and
the guy's
then they're
leg
like,
off
right,
and
police,
stuff.
you can come and clean this up.
Yeah.
And he like shoots that woman, the other gang leaders. He's like, oh, I don't. She's like, please let me like spare me, and he's like, yeah, I don't shoot women. And it's like, oh, okay, fair enough, whatever. Anyway, she gets like 3 paces, and he shoots her in the back.
Yep, and she travels like 3 meters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really genuinely well written as a film. Like you understand who all the
like
characters
the plot
are.
isn't trying to do loads and loads of things. Like
No.
it's not complicated, but there's sort of 2 plots, and they go together quite well, and it's not trying to do anything else.
It's also more than just set up for the next bit of comedy or the next fight scene. Like it actually makes sense. Which a lot of these kinds of films where like the story.
The only bit that doesn't make sense is like, why are they trying? Why do they go to Pigsty Alley to try and pretend to be in the Axe Gang? But I guess you'd think that's a fairly tame place to try out your latest con.
Like who's
con?
There are going to be 5 martial arts masters hanging out there for some reason. A lot of these kinds of film, like the comedy stuff, which is why I don't think this is a spoof. Because it does it all really well. It isn't like the writing isn't there to get to the next joke.
Yeah.
Like the jokes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. I'd say it's a spoof of martial arts films in that it doesn't take martial arts seriously, but it does do them really, really well, which I think is the way you do it, isn't it? Because otherwise it would just be not very good to watch. It's like the parody films that are really low budget and are just kind of painful to watch and might have one good joke the entire 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas this one is solid and the martial arts is solid. So it's like, well, actually, I'm okay with these people taking the piss out of martial arts and doing it over the top and kind of poking fun because they're poking fun at themselves and their own industry.
Yeah, they all know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that makes it so much funnier because like they're not just doing it funnily, they're doing it really, really well. So like all the wire work, all the like crazy fight scenes, even like the animation and like the explosions and the like wind rushing through after like the aftermath of the fights and that sort of thing is so well done that it's, yeah, I'd say it's still, it is kind of a parody of that style,
Oh, it's
but
done so
it's done
well.
so well that it doesn't let any of the fact that it's a comedy detract from the quality. It doesn't like
Yeah.
try and
Which
yeah,
is
yeah,
the best way to do it, the only way to
absolutely.
do it.
Oh yeah,
So there are too many films that try. I just want, like, I think this is a testament to how flexible this type of like martial arts, over the top martial arts film can be.
yeah,
And I really wish, because there was a huge surge of it. I talked about this before. There was a huge like surge of it in the 2000s. The like early 2000s, there were so many films that came out that were sort of from Hong Kong, from like the Hong Kong film scene in the West, which were like wuxia and big dramatic fight scenes, and then they kind of vanished for a bit. I really wish they'd make a comeback because I think they are such good films to watch. A lot of them are very slow paced because Chinese Hong Kong films tend to be very slow
yeah.
when you watch
I must
them.
admit, I did try and watch Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon as a kid and found it really, really boring.
Yeah, they're very like detailed and historically accurate sort of thing. I
Yeah.
guess it's the same as like if you watch like Pride and Prejudice, it's very slow.
How dare you?
Well, it is.
I
it's
assume
a
you're
slow
talking about
film.
the 6-part miniseries by the BBC
Yeah.
that is 6 hours long and
Yeah.
amazing.
But you watch a lot of Western historical films like that,
Oh yeah,
especially from England. A lot of them are like they're so slow and not much happens, and it's a lot of just talking back and forth. Wuxia films are kind of like that, but every now and then they do like big wirework martial arts.
So what you're saying is we need a series called Pride and Prejudice and Wuxia.
Yes, 1,000% I'd watch
Colin Firth doing slow motion fucking back like spin kicks.
Yeah.
over a lake
Yeah.
for no reason.
that. Yeah, but I feel like that would be like, I feel like if they came back, they'd do well.
Yeah.
Because we don't have that kind of action film at the moment. All the action films are very like American and gritty and
Yeah.
kind of depressing.
Yeah, there's not really much martial. I mean, because they had Iron Fist.
That
Yeah.
was shit. Like
Yeah, it was
there's
so
a
bad.
good amount of martial arts stuff in Shang-Chi.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that was
That
was
makes
pretty good for
sense.
that sort of thing.
But I'd love like a good non-Western style action movie that has this kind of like fantastical martial arts in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a nice break for a bit.
I mean, there probably are lots that are coming out in
yeah.
Asia that just aren't making it over the
Yeah.
over the continent because we're just not being marketed at. It's not being marketed for us, which sucks because
Yeah.
it's very hard to find out about stuff you don't know exists.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, especially if it's not in your language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like finding like a subtitled or a dubbed version of those kinds of films is difficult in itself. I
Yeah,
don't know,
especially if it's only like streaming on certain streaming services that you might not even exist in our country.
Yeah, especially in places like China.
Yeah.
And Hong Kong.
I was trying to think of a dumb streaming name for kung fu movies, and the closest I got was Netkicks. And
Netkicks?
Netkicks.
No, that's for football films. That's solely for football films. Which there's a solid joke in this I didn't get when I was younger, but I get it now because I know what the director makes. There's a scene in this in Kung Fu Hustle where the first like introduction to the main character going to Pigsty Alley, when the kids are kicking a football around and they kick it to him and he squashes it, and then he says, "Sorry, no more soccer." The director's last big film was before this was called Shaolin Soccer.
Oh right.
Oh, nice.
So I think it was a
It
little
really
nod
felt
to
like
that.
a reference to something, yeah.
Yeah, which Shaolin Soccer is another film like this. It's about a load of Shaolin monks forming a football team,
That sounds pretty good actually.
like a wuxia football team.
Oh.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I might have to get that one actually.
Watch that one. I recommend it. It's great. The Stephen Chow, every film he makes is actually really good.
Yeah, yeah. Like this was a film that my partner really enjoyed as well. He was, because that's another rating that I do obviously hold
Yep.
quite dear, is will my partner watch it with me?
Yeah.
And yeah, this film he was more than happy to. He was quite excited. He had nostalgia because I'd obviously never seen it, but he had a lot of nostalgia for it, and he was laughing along, and we had a great time.
Right.
It's a great. I think it's a really good movie to watch with people as well because it is so funny, and it's really nice to have people there so you can laugh out loud and it not be weird.
Yeah, well, that was great. That was also great. Yeah. One thing I do want to do in the future on this podcast, I want to get you guys to watch more like wuxia films. I want to get you guys to watch like Hero and Fearless because
Okay.
Yep, I've not seen them.
I want
Yeah.
to introduce you guys to them because I think it's such a good genre of film.
Yeah, I mean ones that
I've
you've
watched.
as
I've
when you were
watched
young.
All of
some like
All
Chinese
of
films from doing Chinese GCSE. We did occasionally have to watch them, but he could never find ones with like the right subtitles, and it would always go wrong. And we'd only ever watch like half of the film. So
Oh yeah, no, they're long.
all I remember is that my Mr. Chow, my Chinese teacher, was a massive fan of early Jackie Chan, and
great. They're
he was
amazing.
a big,
Not
very
for kids.
anti late Jackie Chan.
Oh,
That's fair.
Like it was quite fun. Like if we didn't really want to do any work that day, we would just sort of talk about get him to talk about it, and he would go off on one. And it was great because we knew we had about sort of 20 minutes to fuck about before we'd remember we were supposed to be teaching us Chinese.
That was the best kind of teaching.
So out of 10, I'd say I'd give this a 7 out of 10 knife deflections.
Nice.
To be honest.
I was going to
Like-
go with the obvious. I was going to give it 7 big ass palms.
Yeah.
That's fair. Not surprising. It is a 10. It's a 10 out of 10 film for me. And I'm gonna go with 10 cigarettes entirely inhaled at once out of 10.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm not sure it's like one that I'm desperate to rewatch. Like it was fun, and I had a good time. And it's kind of like in a few years' time I might watch it again, but it's not one that's got like immediate rewatch appeal for me.
I'm literally gonna. I watched it today. I'm literally gonna watch it again after we stop.
This is
fair
like
enough.
the Black Cauldron for
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah,
But,
everyone's
like,
got
this
that film.
film is-
Everyone
this film
has
is
that film.
actually
At least
good.
yours is good.
In this film, there's very little you can actually complain about.
Yeah, they've not cut half it out.
Hey. Let's be nice. We've done that already.
Go back.
I've already had this.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I
We'll,
mean,
we'll
there was,
leave
like,
you in
there
Henwen
is-
Alley.
There's like the. Shut up. There's like a reoccurring fairy joke, which I think is a gay slur, and that was the only thing that I was like, oof.
Yeah.
Oh, there's also a sick pinball reference.
Oh
Is
yeah,
Like-
when they're like he's like kicking people and it's just
Yeah,
making
it
the
starts
pinball,
making pinball
like,
noises, which
yeah.
obviously I can immediately hear.
Which I can't tell if that's diegetic or not. I think it is. I think it is. Very good diegetic.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. The highlight, I think, just because it took me by surprise so much, because I just so wasn't expecting it, was just the boss, that minor boss, like foaming and convulsing in that bucket. Just
Yeah.
absolutely killed me because I
Yeah.
just wasn't expecting it to be so like, oh shit, no, they actually broke his back. Like this guy's dead. Like he's in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me
yeah.
it's the knife scene easily. Like
Oh,
that kind of
yeah.
humor just always gets me.
Yeah. I think for me, it's her catching the axe
Yeah.
mid
Hmm.
mid yelling at someone, catches an axe and continues to yell at them.
Or
Um,
afterwards in the car when they get in the car and they're all in the car with them.
Yeah, because they just sort of teleport into the car, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they use their martial arts powers.
Yeah.
And then he accidentally sets his hair on fire.
It's
She's
just there's
so-
so much ridiculous shit in this movie.
Like, she's so threatening as a
Yeah.
person. That will. She's so scary.
And she does so much of the film with her hair in curlers as well.
in like a
In
night
hair
dress.
rollers and a
Yeah.
night nightie, looking like a proper grumpy middle-aged woman.
And then they wear like matching outfits to the casino. Oh, I could go on about this.
Yeah.
film.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, the outfits and the stage and the setting. Oh, it was all great.
It's so
There's
good.
so much broken plywood and foam everywhere. It's
Mm-hmm.
brilliant.
It's just great. I love this film so much. I'm gonna rewatch it.
And it's so violent. It killed my television.
Yeah.
Did
Well, with that, I have been Dan.
I have been Michael?
And I've been the chosen one.
I thought I'd have to end it, otherwise this would have just been a slow fade out of us talking
Yeah.
about the movie. You can find this podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Hilton Pod. That's at HILTM Pod. We're on Discord as well. Let us know what you thought about Kung Fu Hustle. Let us
Go and
know.
watch
Let us
Kung Fu
know
Hustle.
which animal your special power would be based around, like in this.
Like
if-
that and in
imagine if
and
the
Power Rangers.
Yeah, imagine if the Power Rangers was like this.
Wasn't one of them a toad?
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't one of them
Oh.
a toad in Power Rangers, and he was cut up about it? That was a
Orig-
thing.
Original Power Rangers, but full wuxia would be incredible.
It were giant robots floating
it-
through the sky.
But go and watch this film. It is so good. It's so good.
I went to China for 3 weeks. I spent some of it in quarantine, which was good practice for swine flu. Remember that, guys?
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
that old
Wow,
chestnut?
that's yeah.
Wow.